fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Alpha Trion from the brand new Transformers 1 line from Hasbro. So this is designated as a Prime Changer. I guess that's the name of the size class. I'm assuming that they're like Warrior class or Deluxe class. I'm leaning more towards Deluxe class because of the packaging, but I guess it's a new thing for Transformers 1 Prime Changers. We have the open packaging here, so again, still no plastic window. You can reach right in and touch the figure, but I think the packaging is really cool. I love the color scheme. You have the Beast mode or Alt mode for Alpha Trion here, which looks kind of cool. Some kind of energy unicorn or something. It's a cross between a lion and a rhino. I don't know what's going on here, but it looks kind of neat. Got the Transformers 1 logo here. A picture of the robot mode and the beast mode over here on the side. Over here on this side, you have kind of a nice pic of the main 4 characters from Transformers 1. Not too much going on the bottom. The top, kind of a similar picture here. The 4 main characters in the Transformers 1 logo. And then over here on the back, it shows the robot mode and the alt mode. Looking kind of cool. 15 steps, shouldn't be too complicated. Gonna go ahead and get them out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. Here is Alpha Trion out of the packaging, and I will say right off the bat, I love the color scheme. I think they did a really nice job. It's just really mostly purple with kind of a metallic magenta accent, but it works really well. You also have some light gray and some dark gray, and just all in all, I think the colors work really well. The head sculpt looks pretty good. Again, we have some of that metallic kind of magenta there, some dark gray, silver for the face. I love the blue eyes. I think that works great. And you can just see all the kind of like magenta. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of like a Sentinel from X-Men. That's kind of what the color scheme is doing for me here. Obviously, you know, the vibe is not necessarily a Sentinel. But if you kind of just focus on like the arm or something like that, it looks like maybe it could be. But yeah, he's cool. I like him a lot. The head is on a ball joint. You can kind of look up pretty far, honestly. Look down slightly, side to side, no problem. Even tilt side to side a decent amount. You have a ball joint here for the arm. You can kind of see right down in there where the ball joint is. So you can go about that far out to the side, not quite the full 90 degrees, but very close. Then you can move front to back, no problem. Now you have a swivel here at kind of like the bicep. You have a knee bend, that's an elbow. You have an elbow bend, and then you also have a rotation right below. So you actually have a rotation on both sides of the elbow, which is kind of neat. So nice articulation there. Nothing in the hand. The hand is molded in. There's unfortunately nothing we can do about that. It looks like there's a hinge, but that's for this like front paw piece that we're going to get to later in the alt mode. So the hand is molded in. That's a bit of a bummer, but not a huge problem. You do have a waist swivel there. You have a ball joint for the hip, so you can kick it decently out to the side. Pretty far forward. Pretty far back, you do start to hit into the back kibble a little bit, but not really that big of a deal. Then you have a mushroom peg here, so you can see this is swiveling. It's kind of funny because it almost looks like it's not, but you can see it. There we go. So that is the thigh swivel, and then you have a little bit over 90, maybe we'll say 90 in the knee. And then you have really nice ankle tilt. Don't really have anything front to back, but I think it's okay. You have some heels here, which are pretty good. He doesn't really have trouble standing. I will say, though, I think it's kind of neat. So you have this big piece here on the back, which is kind of like the mane / head. I don't know if he's supposed to be like a wolf or a lion. He has a unicorn horn, so I really don't know what kind of beast he's supposed to be. But it's kind of neat, and we'll take a closer look at the animal head when we get into the animal mode. But the way this kind of rests on the back here, it kind of replicates like the cape piece that Alpha Trion usually has. And I think they did that well. I think that actually works kind of cool. If for whatever reason you would ever need to get it out of your way, you can kind of shift it up a little bit. This can kind of rotate. So obviously it's not going to stay there until you do something with it. But if for some reason you needed to, you know, get to the waist or something better for a pose, and then you could kind of put it back, it is movable. But I just think that works pretty well, because I don't usually like having giant kibble like that on the back, but because he is kind of known for having that cape piece on the back, I think that kind of works. I think that's kind of cool. Now, he does come with 2 accessories. So he's got kind of a long sword and then kind of like a small short sword or dagger. And this is done in this light gray plastic. And then this is painted this crazy bright blue color. which is neat. I don't know why. I guess it's because it's his tail, but it's also a sword. But it's got this crazy like 90-degree angles here. But it's kind of cool. And we'll go ahead and pop this into his hand. Holds it very easily. No problems there. And then you also have this little smaller sword, which is going to be the horn for the beast mode. But he's got those two weapons there. He also has weapon storage on the back. So if you want, we can take this, lift this section back up, and you can see that there is a small rectangular slot there, which we can peg this into. So you can store that there on the back. And then you can take this, and the little hole in the side here can peg into this. I worry about this just because this connection is also used, obviously, to peg in over here, but it does work. So if you want to store both of those weapons on the back, you absolutely can. I also kind of like, I'll take these off real quick here. Because, you know, Alpha Trion is traditionally like a wise old Autobot, I also kind of like to take this and kind of use it almost like a walking stick. You could peg this into the bottom of the hand and kind of use something like that. Because it is so, like, strangely shaped, I feel like you could kind of use it as a walking stick. So you have some options there, which is kind of cool. But those are the two accessories. But overall, I think the articulation's pretty good. I mean, if we think about this as like a deluxe figure on par with, say, Earthspark, the things they're doing there, they're also $20, so I feel like the price range is about the same. I think the paint applications are really nice. I mean, you have, again, more of this magenta metallic here for the animal head, which I think looks really sharp, and we'll show that off more in a minute. But I think the color scheme works. I think the paint applications are pretty good. You have most of the articulation you would want. The only thing I feel like is maybe something in the wrist, but they do give you this second movement here, so you can kind of do the bicep here, but then also utilize that for the wrist. So it's kind of there. It's just not where you'd expect it to be. And then maybe like a front to back ankle tilt, because you have plenty of side to side. No issues there. But maybe a little front to back. That's really the only articulation that I feel like is missing, and I don't really feel like it's that big a deal. I think he's a pretty cool little dude. He doesn't have any kind of weird gimmicks or any spring-loaded things like that that would, you know, hinder any articulation. So I think he's kind of cool. Let's go ahead. We'll get into the transformation. Now, as you might expect, the transformation is relatively simple. I mean, he's just going to kind of fall forward and become a beastie. But we're going to start here by taking this section and kind of popping this out, and then using this hinge right here to rotate this down and around. We can take that little short sword there and just peg it into really either one of these, because it does have a spot on both sides. So you're just going to pop that in there, and then you can go ahead and close this up and peg that all together. And I mean, technically, if you like this look better, you could leave this on his back as well. I mean, you could leave, I'd probably take this out, but you could leave the wolf head on his back like that if you prefer that look. If you don't want the cape and you want him, because it does kind of give him a cleaner profile from the front. It kind of hides decently here on the back like this, so that is an option. We're going to take, you can see he's got these little stubs here in the armpits, and that is going to be for these little connections, little spots right there. So you're going to kind of just pop that and peg that against the body, assuming this will line up. There we go. Repeat that with the other arm. There we go. Then we are going to utilize that second or further down joint to rotate these forward and then flip out the little paws. So do that again over here. Rotate that. Flip out. Come on. The little paw. And then kind of use that elbow joint to kind of situate this, you know, in a stance that kind of makes sense. Then you're going to lift this all the way around. Kind of tilt the head back a little bit. Instructions don't really say to do that, but I just think probably a good idea. And you can kind of see there's like a little hook right here, and that's going to tab into these little spots here on the side. So this will just come around and then hook into that. Very simple. We're already halfway done. Then you're going to come down here to the legs, kind of straighten them out if you have any of the ankle tilt engaged. Flip that, straighten it out. We are going to kind of pop these sections out. and they'll kind of like pop away from the leg and then kind of swivel up and just kind of loosely hang there. Now, I don't believe that they push all the way up. I've been playing with this for a while, and if we kind of look underneath, you can kind of see, well, you're not going to see that in there. Maybe when I move the legs, we're going to pop this all the way back. But you can kind of see in here that this doesn't set all the way down like you'd kind of want it to, because it's hitting against stuff inside there. So I'm pretty sure that's where it stops. But then you're going to just bend all of these extra bends here in the knee, or in the leg, I guess you'd say, and then flip this heel bit up, just like that. And there's one of your legs. And we're going to just do the same thing over here. We're going to pop this up and kind of let that sit there, and then just utilize all these extra joints that were hidden by this piece previously. And then just kind of flip up the heel. And then it's kind of just a matter of, you know, posing this in a stance where all the legs actually hit the ground. Take your larger sword, and you have that large tab there, and that is going to tab in right there. So just go ahead, peg that in, and there we have our Unibeast, I don't know, lion corn. What are we calling this thing? So it's a very interesting design. Like I said, transformation, pretty basic, not really much going on there. Just kind of, you know, falls forward, and now he's on all fours. Connecting the tail, very simple, very secure. No problem there. It's not going to fall out. You know, kind of a weird design, but I think it works as like a lion/wolf tail. I think that's kind of cool. Nice pop of blue there. But I love the head sculpt for the beast. Very, very cool. The teeth look great. The eyes nicely painted. The whole head being that metallic magenta, I think looks really fantastic. Has the horn. Now, for some reason, you don't like the horn, you don't have to put it in there. You could just close this up without snapping that in there. If you want a more kind of traditional wolf-like look or lion-like look, absolutely an option. But yeah, there's not really much in terms of articulation. Now, technically, if you wanted, you could unpeg this. He does have those tabs there in the armpit, but if you want to unpeg that and move this around a little bit, you certainly can. I mean, there's really nothing stopping you from doing that. It's just kind of a guide to put it in kind of a normal stance, but you don't have to. I mean, you can move this around, do whatever you want. If you want the legs to go more forward, something like that, you certainly can do that. So if you want to utilize those pegs there in the armpits, you can. You don't have to. Pop those back on. The legs don't really do much because they utilize all these joints. I mean, I guess technically you have that ankle tilt still, so if you wanted to have the back legs kind of a wider stance, you could do that. But I would say you have basically the ball joint. I mean, technically you can still move all these joints, don't get me wrong. But when you think about, like, this is how he's supposed to be positioned, so it doesn't really make sense to stretch the legs out, but you certainly can. I mean, you have a joint there, you have a joint there. Ankle tilt's still there. Hip joint's the same. Nothing new in that regard. The arm articulation is literally all the same. I mean, once you peg that in, it kind of gets rid of the ball joint, but I showed you that you can undo that. Bicep swivel, elbows, other swivels, all there still. So, doesn't really lose any articulation. I guess technically it does gain 1 or 2 points here in the leg. But when you think about how he's kind of supposed to be posed, just like, you know, crouched like this, there's not really much in terms of the articulation, but you could put him in some kind of leaping pose or something, you know, something like that. But yeah, overall, he's definitely a neat beast. Again, I don't really know. He's a hodgepodge, kind of a wolf, unicorn, lion hybrid. He's a Fusor. We figured it out. But yeah, kind of a cool little beast mode here. I think Alpha Trion's pretty cool. I mean, the transformation's a little basic for a $20 figure, but I'm not really that upset about it. Anytime we have these kind of four-legged beast transformations, the transformation is usually just some form of them kind of falling forward. We've seen it for Cheetor recently, several others. I get it. Now, again, if I'm talking about a core class Cheetor, obviously that's more in the $10 to $12 range. This is $20. But still, I mean, I don't really know any other way that they would do it, so I'm not really that upset about the transformation being basic, because I do really like the figure a lot. I think the design's cool. I love the head sculpt. All of the paint applications are really sharp. they actually found a way to make that kibble on the back kind of work as a cape for him, which I think is really cool. So I think that totally works. He's got the 2 accessories, the little swords. I think is kind of neat. You can store them on the back if you want. Articulation-wise, you know, for robot mode, I think he's great. The only thing I would maybe ask for is some front-to-back ankle articulation, but not really that worried about that. And again, with the beast mode, technically there's a lot of articulation points, but I feel like unless you're putting him in some kind of like leaping pose or something like that, you're not really going to utilize that. You're just going to kind of have him stationary there on all fours. But he still looks neat, you know, as the weird unicorn lion wolf hybrid thing that he is. Not really sure what they're going for, but I guess it's some unknown Cybertronian beast. We'll go with that. But I still think it's a fun figure. I'm definitely excited for this line. I think it'll be kind of a cool way to get some, you know, figures on the cheaper side. They're not quite like Warrior class. They don't have any weird action gimmicks or spring-loaded pieces, or, you know, none of their arms or legs have to be stuck in a stationary pose due to a gimmick, so I appreciate that. I feel like they're kind of on par with the deluxe figures we've seen from Earthspark recently, and they're fun. I like it. I don't really have any complaints here. I think it's a good, fun figure. $20 I don't think is too unreasonable. I got mine from Amazon, but I actually saw it today at my local Target as well. I think I saw it at Target about an hour before it was supposed to be delivered to my house from Amazon. So they're out in the wild. People are finding them. Now, I've only seen Optimus and Alpha Trion in stores. I don't know if Sentinel Prime and Bumblebee are also out now or if they're coming later. I don't know. But for now, I think this guy should be fairly readily available once your Target kind of does their aisle reset, which should be happening very soon. Definitely by like August 1st. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.